My dad left mom for his secretary, and now my stepmother is trying to control me and ruin my life. So I kicked her out of my house. My father divorced my mom when he was over 50 because he fell in love with a younger woman. Yes, you heard that right. Dad is 54 now, mom is 52. 4 years ago, Dad got promoted to director of the company where he'd worked for 25 years. It was a huge achievement, and we were all proud of him. He started there as a lowly intern 25 years ago. Mom, for her part, owns her own advertising firm. It's not as big as Dad's company, but she's the boss there. So yes, I come from a well-off family. I'm 26, a successful freelance graphic designer, and I'm about to launch my own business. Keep your fingers crossed for me. I owe all this to Mom, who's been in the digital space since the early days and introduced me to freelancing early on. I started graphic design as a teenager and was earning $1,000 a week by the time I finished school. I wouldn't say my parents had a perfect marriage. In recent years, I barely saw them together. They were both too busy with their careers and personal lives to focus on each other. But it wasn't always like that. In my childhood, my parents were the best team imaginable. They understood each other perfectly, especially at work. They were ambitious, cheerful, and incredibly fun people. I had a happy, fulfilling childhood. When I went to college, I noticed them drifting apart, leading more separate lives. I thought it was a natural process, people focusing on themselves as they age. They never fought or spoke ill of each other, but later I realized it was something else. Dad lost interest in Mom after she went through menopause. He complained her hormones became unbearable, and as you've guessed, he found comfort with his secretary. After his promotion, they assigned him as secretary. Their affair started earlier, when office rumors about his promotion began, but after the official appointment, he took their relationship seriously. When Mom found out, she simply wished him luck and let him go without a fuss. That's why I love her. She's the most elegant and strong woman I've ever met. But before letting him go, she made sure to secure the house we lived in and a significant portion of Dad's savings as alimony. She wasn't a gold digger, they built that wealth together, and she wasn't about to let some freeloader live off her efforts. After the divorce, Dad was left with almost nothing except his car and a portion of his savings, which he generously spent on his new love, the secretary. The divorce went smoothly. Dad agreed to all of Mom's terms without a fight, knowing arguing with her was pointless. She would have destroyed him. Thankfully, I was already living on my own when this started. During college, I rented a luxurious 2-bedroom apartment and enjoyed my freedom. I earned enough freelancing to cover rent and expenses, so why not? I didn't want to take sides. I love both parents. I'm an adult and understand their perspectives. I was closer to Mom, but I maintained a good relationship with Dad too. I respected him because he was always kind to Mom, supported her, and celebrated her successes. Dad and his secretary, mistress, call her what you will, moved in together in a rented apartment since Mom kicked him out of the house. The company had a strict no romance between colleagues policy. Dad wanted to keep their relationship under wraps until they figured things out, but his lover was too thrilled about her winning ticket and bragged to her work friends. For a single mom and secretary, my father was a jackpot. But there are no friends at work. Her bestie spilled it to the whole office, and they both got fired. Yes, Dad lost his director position because of this woman. Mom ended up having the last laugh. A few months ago, I bought myself a lavish 3-bedroom penthouse. Here's the thing. Last week, Dad came to me with a request. He asked if he and Linda, his mistress, could live with me. She's 29, and Dad plans to marry her next month. He's currently unemployed, trying a new venture that needs time, and is living off his savings since both he and Linda are out of work. I told Dad I needed time to think. I moved out to enjoy my freedom, and their moving in would disrupt my personal space. Dad assured me they wouldn't interfere, and I could live as I pleased. I discussed it with Mom, and she said it's my decision. She's not a vengeful person. She noted I'm old enough to make such choices myself. I want to help Dad, but I don't know what to expect from this woman. I'm just confused. Dad has always been caring and loving, and it hurts to refuse him, especially in a tough time. I'd appreciate it if anyone could share their experience with a similar situation. Feel free to write your thoughts or experiences in the comments if you have them. Update 1. Hey everyone, picking up where I left off. After much thought and discussion, I agreed to let Dad and Linda live with me. Dad said they'd move in after the wedding. I thought it'd be a modest affair since it's a second marriage for both, but no, they threw a lavish celebration and then went on a honeymoon. I wondered where the money came from, but it's not my business. It's been a couple of months since they moved in. As I mentioned, Linda is a single mom to a 5-year-old girl who's a mini-me of her. She runs around the house, making a mess, and no, this isn't the cute kid you might imagine. It's a spoiled child who demands everything she sees and breaks things if she doesn't get her way. Dad hasn't launched his business yet. He's seeking investors and trying to convince them to invest. Linda, meanwhile, doesn't even bother with job interviews. She seems content living off Dad. She has guests almost daily, family, friends, or random people she met at the supermarket. She's one of those women who calls herself the life of the party but really just sits on the couch gossiping. Maybe that's normal for some, but it's strange to see her doing nothing all day. I never saw Mom lounging around. Even on weekends, she worked while everyone else slept. I don't know if Dad told Linda about his finances. Based on her lifestyle, it seems he has no money troubles, so either he hasn't told her the full truth or he lied to me. The first option feels more likely, given I saw how the divorce played out and no Mom got most of the assets. This woman needs to realize Dad has no money, and if she wants to live decently, she should start doing something. But that's not my main concern right now. I'm over the moon because I met Alice, 23, a vlogger who's not super popular yet. I can't reveal her identity, but I've lost my head over her. I've been a fan of her work for a while, and recently, she hired me to edit her videos. We'd never met in person. All our talks were over video calls. Sounds like a classic romance, right? Yes, I fell for her while editing her videos. She's stunning in her travel vlogs, but her raw, unedited footage hooked me most. Okay, enough gushing, back to the point. After much deliberation, I invited her to meet last month. It wasn't quite a date, more of a work meeting. In person, she was even more beautiful. She quickly sensed my feelings and reciprocated. Since then, we've been meeting regularly, and I hope it works out. We mostly hang out at her place. She lives with her teenage sister, 2 dogs, and 3 cats. They inherited the house from their grandfather. Alice's parents divorced long ago and started new families, so she and her sister lived with him until his death 4 years ago. Since then, Alice has been her sister's guardian. Even if my house were empty, she wouldn't move in. I just hope Dad gets his business going and they leave. Linda and her daughter don't bother me much, but lately, Linda's been overstepping. She's made comments about my lifestyle twice, but I sharply put her in her place. I'm not someone who lets others set rules in my own home. If she tries again, I'll quickly remind her who's boss. Update 2. Hey everyone, it's exactly a year since my last update. Lots has happened, so brace yourselves. First, I'm engaged. Last week, I got down on one knee and proposed to Alice. Some might think it's rushed, but I've been sure of her since our first meeting. Now, about the situation at my house, it's a mess. Linda is an awful woman. I won't fully blame her. I think Dad misled her about his finances and fueled her narcissism. The first few months, she left me alone, though she had constant guests who didn't bother me much. But over time, Linda started crossing lines. First, she commented on the mess in my room and said I should wash my clothes more often. What nerve! Even Mom never meddled in my personal life, and since childhood, I've lived as I see fit. At first, I ignored her, but when she kept nagging, I talked to Dad privately, asking him to rein her in. He apologized and told her to stay out of my life. Naturally, Linda didn't like me calling her out, but at the time, she did nothing. Months passed, and Dad went to San Francisco for a business meeting with investors. Linda used this to try imposing her rules. She started ordering me to wash dishes, do laundry, mow the lawn. Naturally, I refused. I cooked for myself, washed dishes, and did laundry when I felt like it. It's my house and no one dictates rules here. My indifference enraged her, and one day she exploded, screaming that I'm a lazy bum living off Dad and doing nothing. Seriously? This woman has no clue. She genuinely thinks I live in Dad's house and leech off him, when it's the opposite. I work from home, but Linda apparently believes I just browse the internet or play games on my laptop. I wanted to set her straight, but I didn't know what Dad had told her and feared ruining their relationship if I revealed the truth. So I let her stay in her fantasy world until Dad returned. I didn't want to stress him with investor issues when Linda was trouble enough. As if she wasn't enough, her daughter became my second headache. She's gotten worse, pulling down curtains, messing with my equipment, breaking things, and Linda doesn't even try to discipline her. That month Dad was away, Linda tested my patience daily, demanding I clean or do dishes. Of course, I didn't, but her constant whining started getting to me. I stopped going to the living room to avoid her, but she began knocking on my door, insisting I follow her orders. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. When Dad returned, I immediately addressed Linda's behavior, saying I couldn't live with her anymore. Either she controls herself, or she leaves. Dad apologized again, explaining Linda's 3 months pregnant, and her hormones make her unbearable. Funny, considering he divorced Mom over her hormonal changes during menopause. Wonder how he'll handle Linda now. I wanted to kick her out right then, but Dad begged for a few months to sort things out. I mentioned I'm planning to marry Alice. I hadn't proposed yet but was considering it and need my personal space. Dad promised his business would profit in 6 months, and they'd move out. I asked if he'd told Linda the house is mine, since she's acting like she owns it. He dodged the question and changed the topic. Seems he never told her and has no intention to. I don't know what he sees in this woman. He risked everything for her. Now, I spend most of my time at Alice's, which has made things easier, but I dream of the day Linda leaves my house. Update 3. This Linda is relentless. I mentioned proposing to Alice and planning a wedding in a few months, but Linda seems determined to make my life hell. A month after the engagement, she caused trouble. Alice usually doesn't come to my place, but I was bedridden with a fever, too sick to lift my head. Alice knew about my family situation but not the details, like Linda thinking the house is hers. I'm not one for gossip, so I avoid idle talk. Alice stayed a few days to care for me. Linda seized the chance to turn her against me, telling Alice I'm a lazy bum who does nothing. Alice knows my profession and income, so she defended me. Linda switched tactics, claiming it's not just about money, men should help at home, and I supposedly lift a finger while she cooks and cleans for me. She said I have patriarchal upbringing, and even Dad never helped her, despite her pregnancy. Alice isn't after money, but she values a partner who helps, not someone who turns her into a free maid. Maybe it sounds trivial to men, but it's a big deal for women. But Linda didn't stop there. She claimed infidelity runs in my blood, like Dad leaving Mom for a mistress, and even lied that I'd cheated on Alice, bringing other women home. Alice asked for specifics. When Linda described them, Alice said they were just my friends and colleagues. Linda insisted she saw me entertaining them. Total nonsense. I was too sick to notice Alice's shift. The next day she left. I recovered a week later and visited her. She seemed unsure, doubting if we should continue. When I asked what happened, she said we might be rushing. I knew it was Linda. Alice isn't one to second-guess her choices. Her yes to my proposal was deliberate. I asked if Linda had talked to her. She hesitated but confessed when I pressed. I explained Linda's a toxic woman living in delusions about Dad's finances. For Alice, it wasn't about money but needing a partner, not someone exploiting her care. I realized the damage was done. The more I pushed, the further she'd pull away. I decided to give her space but knew I had to remove the poison from my life. Linda. I went home and tore into Linda for what she told Alice. She smirked, saying, I told her the truth. Furious, I stormed into her room and started throwing her stuff into the living room. She screamed, threatening to call the police and tell Dad. I shouted I didn't care, let her do what she wants. She yelled this was her house and I had no right to kick her out. I laughed in her face, shattering her illusions, saying the house is mine and Dad begged to live here. I told her to shut up and pack. She tried grabbing my collar, but I broke free, warning her never to touch me again. Minutes later, Dad arrived. Linda must have called. As I threw her things out, he grabbed me, trying to calm me, But I didn't hold back, saying he made a huge mistake with that slut Linda. She expected Dad to defend her, yelling at me to shut up, demanding he kick me out. He had to reveal the truth. The house is mine. Linda was shocked, hurling accusations at Dad, calling him a liar. Dad pulled me aside, begging for one last chance for Linda. I refused. She tried ruining my life and relationship, and I won't let her stay. I didn't mince words. Take your slut and go. I won't let her turn my house into a brothel. Dad relented, packed their things, and left, with Linda cursing me, Dad, and even Mom. I wanted to hit her, but I avoided more trouble. It's been a week since they left. It felt good putting Linda in her place, but my clash with Dad has ruined our relationship. I know I went overboard with the insults, but I hope he understands. Alice means everything. Linda tried to break us up. The next day, I went to Mom's, told her everything, and she laughed until she cried, sipping wine. She invited Alice for dinner, easing her doubts about patriarchal upbringing in our family. Mom's story convinced her. She spoke the truth. Even after the divorce, Dad respected Mom. Mom never imposes, but her confidence makes her hard to doubt. She advised giving Alice space and not pressuring her. I hope it works out. Alice still wears my ring. Mom said Linda will soon hunt for new rich men when she realizes Dad has no money. Linda does bounce from one wealthy guy to another. I don't know Dad's situation now and feel no pity. He made his choice, and it was a mistake.